Hi, welcome to episode 9 of Kim's Art Show. We are on the second session painting the window box from my mother-in-law's house. And we were at my in-laws for the Labor Day weekend, and the light was hitting it really well. There's some nice shadows, some lights, some darks. And so I got the photo, and I was like, maybe this will make it onto Kim's Art Show, and here we are. I'm going to put this on my website so that if you want to try, you can give it a shot as well. And you could find it under like the episodes of show on kimweineck.com. So KIMWEINECK.com, and hopefully you'll be able to find it there. And paintings go through stages. Right? Whenever I start a painting, I have to have that energy and I have to imagine the end result. Otherwise, it's almost like going to fail from the start. So when I see this initially, then I'm like, ooh, like there's a little glimmer of something there. And then I start to paint. At the beginning, it's like, I'm going to get it to where it is in my head. And then you cover the canvas or the surface. And now it starts to get into the period of like, can I get it there? And for lack of a better term, I've always called it the yuck period, right? So how exciting that episode 2 is going to focus on the yuck period and hopefully bring us out of that toward completion. So darkest darks are these shutters and then some of the shadow parts, but it's the Cape Cod School that I'm aware of, a group of painters out of P-Town. My dates might be wrong, but like 20s, 30s, 40s, maybe, that really focused on what are the colors in the shadow. It's not just dark, there's more there. When you're in person, you can see it better than in a photo. And so I tend to paint them a little bit lighter, the darks, than what they are. And I tend to really stress the color temperature in them. And so these darks are darker, but they're also bluer, cooler than the lights. And this has dried now, so when I paint on it, it's going to look a little bit darker because the water will seep into it. But as it dries, it gets lighter. That's the opposite of acrylic, which dries darker. So it's kind of a learning curve on gouache. Here we are, episode 9, and gouache again. But I think if you're painting along or learning about gouache, that there's a nice opportunity to keep working with it and some good familiarity before we jump on into pastel or acrylic or oil or even just sketching. So back to gouache. Deciding what am I going to do next? I think I'm going to start at the top and go down. It's very orderly. I'm not very orderly, so it kind of puts it into something containable. I like these kind of blech edges, blech, technical term, right? Because it looks painty. I'm not an architect and I'm not trying to do some sort of architectural rendering. I'm doing a painting. And so let's see. I like a lot that's happening. I might, this is a fake word, but I love it, like embiggen some of this light color. So I'm going to mix that. And I still have my painting from the palette from the first session of painting. And I am mixing out some nice white, but not pure white. It's been kind of mixed in with a light peach and some of the color of the inside of the window, the reflection on the glass. So it looks nice and crisp. And I can't, like, when people, oh, you're such a good artist, I can't even draw a straight line. Nobody can draw a straight line. Like, it's not some sort of talent that you're born with or not. And so the trick is to do small little lines. And there are ways, like I could get some sort of straight edge, or some people use like an old credit card or gift card and can make edges harder. I've never done that, but it's something that I'm going to try at home before I try here. And keep in mind, like, If you make a mistake, it's gouache and you just go over it, right? So wonky, whatever, it's good. And playing with that. My pinky is very much helping me stay steady. So I like it. It's important that you like what you're doing, even during the yuck period. But like, keep in mind, it's a process. Don't judge it until you're further along in the process, right? The more water on your brush, the more the paint will flow. And remember, like suggestions, you are not like drawing it with a pencil, right? It's the brush. I said that before. I was laughing that Norfolk Cable, Norfolk Community TV released 5 episodes on YouTube, and I was kind of skimming through. And I say the same things again and again, but that's okay, because when I teach, I say the same things again and again. And when I was in art school, I heard the same things again and again. And if I find an artist that I like and I want to go watch them paint, they say the same things. But it's like you hear it at the level that's right for you when you're ready to take it in, So who knows how many episodes of this art show we'll have, but I will keep saying the same thing again and again. All right, so some of that we have worked up. Maybe the shutters, do I want to give a little more detail to that? So the shutter color is that Prussian blue, and I am adding into it burnt sienna. Burnt sienna is a very potent color, and so it's kind of a fun dance for how much do I need to give me the detail I want. So these are those louvered shutters, and I can kind of like suggest those lines through it without being too particular. Like scribble, scribble, right? It's the impression of. When that dries, we might see it a little more, and if we don't, I'll go back in. All right. Sometimes with painting, I think we all do this with anything that you're like, okay, you kind of float around the subjects until then it's like, okay, I've kind of hemmed and hawed enough, time to just get in and do. Now I'm trying to mix a color like this. Now there are really wonderful lines for all the shingles. I'm not gonna capture all of those. There are great painters that you can look to see, this is a little problem, but I don't know how other painters have figured out how to suggest, like, clapboards or shingles. How do I want to do it? So, like, if you can go to museums or galleries, of course. I'm not landing on the color I want, but I will. When I was in art school, I had a professor, not my favorite, and I remember I said, like, how do I paint a big expanse of snow that's believable and just doesn't look like this blob of color? And he said, go to the Museum of Fine Arts and find out. And I was like, okay, but also that feels like lazy teaching. He wasn't my favorite. Oh, I like this color, nice and beefy. I don't think I like this brush. I think I might change to a flat as opposed to a round. I liked the marks that I got for the first painting session. But I also wanted to say, like, if you're on Pinterest, make a board, like paintings I love, paintings I learn from, and feel free to look me up. I think I'm just Kim Weineck on Pinterest. But find my board of paintings and photos that I love and see, like, oh, that does look like how she paints, or, and there's nothing wrong with, for your own use, education, and enjoyment in copying someone else's painting, because you learn so much about how to paint by doing that. Just don't go and like sell it as your own. Sadly, in this day and age, stuff like that does happen. So remember, negative space. I'm just kind of going to dot in some gray, even if it's not there, to give the suggestion of the house being with these, behind these shrubs. All right, so let's spend some time in the shrubs because it's fun. So I'm going to concentrate first on the darks. So remember I was saying about we want kind of some drama in the shadows, and that's blues. Oh, I like this a lot. Cerulean is that like sky blue that's cool. And so this is a very cerulean-based color. I am going to change the brush. You figure out the marks that each brush makes, and I think the softness and the funky marks that this one makes lend itself better to what I want. So I thought this was going to be a lot darker, and it's not, so I'm going to remix. I have a color that in artist pigment is known as Viridian, and it's very emerald, and so I'm playing with that. Oh, I like it. I added fuchsia to it because they're opposites, and in some cases, like that's how, like a alizarin, alizarin crimson and Viridian can make a really beautiful dark. You know, because it's Kim's art show and I can talk about whatever, I just want to mention that I'm going to be going to Boston this weekend because it's my 20th anniversary. And, you know, another thing about time being so relative, I can't even believe it. 20 years in a flash, even though that sounds like such a stereotype. And we're going to go visit my daughter in college in Boston. I can't wait. And I know she said she was going to watch with her roommates, so hey. You can tell it's affecting me to have one out of the nest. I've been doing a ton of painting though, so that's a positive. So I have those darks that are in shadow, so they're cool, and not just dark, cool green, but they're actually like blue. So now I'm going to do some of these warmer colors in the shrubs. And so I'm going to play with those too. Like, can I enhance those? So I'm playing with lemon yellow. And I'm going to kind of, these marks are good. I talked about the calligraphy that you can make with the brushes. And this is kind of this blend of the design of the painting and the word that I made up, which is like the singular. So, you know, like over here, there's kind of a little hint of light that I'm going to stress and draw attention to. And then here's like a group, and I call that the clumpular, right? Which isn't a word, but I love it. And, you know, it evokes what you need. It's a clump of light. And notice how, as it gets lighter, warmer, that it really like stands up off of that painting. And so much about getting better as a painter is like there's always room for improvement, right? Which is kind of hard, makes painting hard. But also confidence, right? You want the painting to feel like it was joyfully done. And I think like these kinds of marks, I used to watch artists make them and I'd be like, they're just like slashes and blops, you know, very technical word again. a blob of color. But it's that kind of confidence that people respond to. And you only get good at that by trying. And it's gouache. So make the marks, the ploops, the sun-hit blobs, and then if it's not right, paint over it, right? Throw the paper away that wasn't very expensive and see what happens. Okay, I love it. I love the way that the light kind of dapples through and you have a sense of where light comes from. Okay. So there's a gutter here, kind of like a trim. I'm not sure I'm going to put that in. And I did paint some of the louvered details, but you can't see it when it dried. I can see it up close, but I don't think the contrast is enough. So I just want to spend a moment on that. And this is, again, that little dance of like back and forth. So let's see. And because this is dry and this is wet, it's going to be hard to figure out, is it light enough, is it not yet? And remember, as much as you can say, right, with as little marks as necessary. Even when the mark is kind of like broken, like I was saying, I can't draw a straight line, like no one has the straight line drawing ability that they're born with. But I don't need each little line to communicate it, but already you have a nice sense of the shutters. Okay, what might be next? What I don't like is I think I want to move some of the shrub up and cover some of this more so that it doesn't feel so much like, this is the area with the window, this is the area with the window box, and then this is the area with the shrub. Let's cross them a little bit more. So like this is a flat brush, and when I'm painting with it, I'm painting with like the little corner of it, and you get a different mark than you would with a round, which is going to act more like a pen. Too dark. Keep adjusting on the palette. Carrying in some of those darks. So green is still a cool color, but like it has warm versions, but in that cool family. And so to pull people in, I'm kind of adding some of the warm notes in the foreground, even though it's still cool. Then I can make some of these in the foreground look crisper, more like a leaf, by painting the negative shape around it. Right? Negative shape, value, lightness or darkness, like all these things we say all the time. But they're what makes painting successful or not. All right. Let's play a little bit more now with the window box and the flowers. So I'm going to add a little, let's see, I want it warm, and there's still green on my brush. So let's try to clean that brush. So I have that light peachy yellowy white, which is such a cheat of a mixture that my art teachers would have yelled at me for, but haha. And I'm going to kind of suggest, like, where is light? I like that. There's not a lot of like direct light here, so I can suggest some. It's kind of the fun part about being an artist. It's not there, but I'm going to pretend. But I like the difference of just a little bit of warm and then a little bit of cool. So let's stress on that a little. See, and again, that negative space helping to show like the definition of the leaves. Okay, now some more in the flowers. I think that the dark is where I'm going to start. I made that too warm. There's a nice clump of darks in there that I don't have here, so let's give that. It's the contrast, right? There's this warm light color and then this cool, like that. Over here, some more cool. And remember, like, it's that confidence, these little like kisses of color note. And if we don't like it later, just paint right over it. And you know, like my flowers tend to grow when I paint them, and that's okay. I can still change it. Like I just went over an entire flower. That doesn't mean it's gone forever. I can resurrect it. Okay. And that's that thing about like, I'm an artist, so did I add too many darks? Maybe. Let's add some of the lighter yellow, yellowy greens. Yellowy greens. And how vibrant can they be? Well, there's a big one here. Nice one over here. There's a big cascade of color down here. Over here. Over here. Right, so it's definitely changing a bunch. I might try to get some more of the window box back, just to kind of show that you can. But it's still pretty wet, so I might wait and work on other parts. So see how that lightened up beautifully? And there's some cute like details of the louvers over here, because that's where the light hits it. Okay. So we want to make sure that this reads as a window. And yes, this is a reflection, but a great way to do that is maybe I'll get a smaller brush. So am I into my rigger? That's the tiny little liner brush. And kind of suggest, might be too soon for the rigger, but let's see. There's like little glary mess that my finger is such a great tool, right? So it kind of feels like reflection there. I do think that brush might be a little too little, but I don't need the flat brush. Instead, it's a pretty wonky round. I'm gonna add a little more blue over here in the reflection. Not dark enough. All right, make your mark, decide. right? So look at how wonky I made that. Like, I can get it back. Negative space, positive space, negative space, positive space. And that's how your shapes become what they are. So I have a feeling we're bringing this to a nice place, and you've gotten some good, I hope good, like educational tips on how to make this painting. But like, it's not done. This is another one for me to take back to my little basement studio space and play with. Oh, but before we even think about winding up, I'm not going to let this show end without taking back some of this. Let's see. In watching some of these shows, I saw that it's amazing, like in the last 5 minutes, how much the paintings move along. Because it's kind of like the 0 hour, right? Do or die, get it done, make a mark, get out, figure it out. This is a really good, though, example of negative space, positive space. I didn't like that last mark. It's always the way. So to give yourselves a little bit of fun too, do something like with your little rigger. Like I'm going to get a nice like warm light tone, and I'm going to move my eye around, right, by kind of suggesting these little kisses of light. I love what that feels like. So now this has the very light color, and it's so hard not to like draw with the brush, but this is a chance to put in little hard, beautiful lines and edges. And for 2 episodes, it's in a nice place, right? We have a good suggestion of this window box. So if you look on my site, I'll post it when it's done, but also I'll bring it in the next time we record. And I hope you give it a shot too at home. Thanks so much for watching.